Welcome out tonight, folks. Welcome to our live mastermind. This is mastermind number 3. My partner Joseph Smith here and we are part of the Wise Guys and Ties, and we are looking forward to bringing you some really exciting information about really what it is to be a real estate investor. And today we're going to kind of go a little bit more advanced, so a little bit further down the road from just the traditional setup. How do you get the foundational steps in place? We're going to talk a little bit more about some rehabbing. What does that even look like? So I'm pretty excited about this, but this is moving on to a little bit more advanced. Now, next week, we will be returning back to kind of the foundational aspects and getting set up in real estate investing. But I wanted to let you guys know what we're working on in our private masterminds right now. And so as I share our screen here, I'm going to get this PowerPoint up and running, and then we will, Mr. Smith here, go over what we're talking about. Alrighty. There we go. All right, Mr. Smith.
Yes, I can't tell you how much I enjoy reading disclaimers. I really can't tell you how much I enjoy this. I need to let you know right off the bat that I and Mr. Ray Fleming here are independent marketing affiliates, also known as independent contracting marketers. And we have a contract with Renatus LLC to provide marketing services for their educational services offerings. Now, I myself can't always speak for Ray, but we do our best to represent their offerings truthfully and accurately. Actually, you do a good job with that, Mr. Fleming. Also, we do our best to give you all the information. Okay, that's gone. So, Renatus, next disclosure, Renatus LLC requires me to tell you that if you choose to purchase educational services, then 1, you're contracting with Renatus LLC. So you should read the purchase agreement terms and then ask me or Mr. Fleming any questions. 2, Renatus LLC will provide access and customer service assistance for the educational services you purchase. And 3, Renatus LLC will pay me and or other independent marketing affiliates based upon what you choose to purchase. All right, now keep in mind that Ray is not a licensed attorney, accountant, financial advisor, or broker. And nor does he have any other license. In fact, he doesn't even have a driver's license. I have to drive his guy everywhere. Even if he had a license, though, he's not acting in that capacity. Therefore, he will not discuss or provide any specific counsel, advice, or instruction that would apply to specific individuals. This presentation is intended to be general information only. Renatus LLC recommends that you engage in the services of professionals like me, regarding the service of professionals when making decisions that have a legal impact, especially financial decisions. And now, back to Ray Fleming.
All right, we'll take it over. And I just want to know if this is the first time that if you're finding us, if this is the first time you're being exposed to anything that we actually do, I want to let you guys know that a lot of what we do is simply we're putting it there for you to mimic. So if you were out there doing similar things on YouTube, you would want to do the same thing. You want to throw in disclosures. You want to throw in disclaimers because of the litigious society that we live in. We have to.
It's a big word.
I know.
Litigious.
I learned it from this guy. But we have to put those. We have to put these things in place to protect yourself. Everything that Wise Guys and Ties talks about is how to protect you, not just protect your business, but protect your finances and protect the legacy that you're building for your family, how to protect your family, protect everything that you do, because that at the end of the day is all that matters. Whoever has the most protection is going to be the safest.
And we are at the end of the day, so
yeah, that's very true.
Why it's important right now.
So these are some of our deals. We are heavily into real estate investing. Some of these are fix and flips. Some of these are rehab. Some of these are rental properties. But my partner and we've been officially partners in companies now for what? A little over 2 years now. We've been working together side by side for a couple of years now.
It feels so much longer than that.
I know. Yeah. I got gray hair working with you, but that's the wisdom. It's the wise.
Yes. The Wise Guys and Ties.
Now, so we're going to talk tonight. I'm going to actually give you some more. You're going to want to take copious notes, because what I'm going to talk to you tonight is really the process to rehabbing a property.
Copious. That's another big word. That's 2 in a row, man.
Yes,
Copious. That's a lot.
Now we're gonna go from where I'm gonna give you Ray's 50 steps to rehabbing real estate.
Wait a minute. 50? Like
50,
one
like
five?
50.
Oh,
50
my goodness.
individual steps. So I told you this is gonna be. We're gonna go through a lot of steps, and you know what? The very first step, you gotta secure that house.
All right.
Put a lockbox on there, get the keys changed, get the locks changed, go in there, drill the lock out if nobody's there. There's a process to it.
Is there a test at the end of this?
The test is in real life, if you're ready for real life. Now, like I said earlier, what we're going over tonight, this is in our high-level masterminds that are not actually on YouTube. So these take place every single week, and they go for example, the rehabbing, that's almost a month long, because we each take 2 full-day classes, or every student in there, we take full-day classes, and then we literally spend an entire month masterminding on the process start to finish. And I'm going to give you just a brief overview of all those ins and outs of what needs to be done in a property. Now, I'm going to show you one of our projects here, what it actually looks like when you first look at the property. So I'm going to open up some pictures here. And this is one of our projects that was actually one of the more first deals we ever did. And so I'm gonna go ahead and open this up and see if I can move this over here. There we go. And you should be able to see this. Let me see if we're able to see this in Zoom. Should see a black screen.
There we
go. Let me make sure that as we open up Zoom, let me make sure that you're able to see this. Perfect. All right, you're able to see these pictures.
This looks like Falling Star.
This is Stanton.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is the backside of Stanton. Now what I'm going to do is, this is when we first were looking at this property. We're first evaluating the condition. Obviously, you can see that it is in fantastic shape. But the key to when you first start taking a look at properties, you want to take lots of pictures, really figure out the survey of the land, see what it's going to look like. See, taking a little bit, that one's a little, oh, there we go. Taking a little second to load. We're running a lot of data through Joseph's laptop today. All right, hey, there's my little girl. She likes to go check out properties too, so that's always a great thing. Involve your children. If you have some children, let them play with those rusty needles. That's how you build that immune system. Now, this is something that you always want to be looking at: the sidings, the HVAC, the foundation, the roofings. Those tend to be the more expensive things. And it's always cool to see what it actually looked like.
Could you go back to that one?
Yeah.
Back to that one. Now, there was a little trick you taught me one time. Oh, no, go back. That one. When you're evaluating a house, you don't have time to get up on the roof. You told me a little shortcut. Do you remember what it was?
Well, there's a couple different shortcuts, but
it's looking at that trim right
the
there.
fascia right here.
Right,
yes.
The fascia.
Yes.
Like that. The condition of the fascia is probably the condition of the roof.
It's absolutely a very good indicator of the roof. And, and if there's always junk, you can always climb up that. But yes, the fascia right here, that's always a good indicator of, have they been actually taking care of it? Now, this property is in Tucson, Arizona. And so we have all different types of roofs here. We have shingled roofs, but a lot of what we have is what's called elastomeric or buildup. Basically, it's a hot tar roof that needs to be recoated with a white coating every 5 years or so. Most people don't do that, which creates a lot more problems and many times leads to the roof needing to be replaced.
That roof looked like it was pitched.
Yeah, it's slightly pitched, but not pitched enough for the shingles.
Okay.
We have a lot of these. These are evaporative coolers. And so these basically are wet pads that force wet air through the house. When there's no humidity, they work okay. They just make the house cool, but very humid. Since a lot of these houses were built with swamp coolers on the roofs, there's a lot of damage that gets done around these coolers because it seeps into the roof itself. Also, you want to be looking at electrical. Electrical is something that can be very costly. So I would say the top 5 most expensive things on a rehab are roof, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and foundation. Those are the top 5 most expensive things on a rehab. So those are the ones you really want to be looking out for. Now this has a carport, but it was enclosed to a room. As you see that there's an older HVAC unit on the roof. Since those coolers are usually on the roof, the easiest thing that they do is swap out the units on the roof. Then I did get up on the roof, and you can see here these black lines. That's the underlayment showing, can't speak, but this hasn't been coated in a long time, so there was some soft spots on there. We ended up having to replace the roof on this. We were hoping that we could get by with just doing a couple coats, but it just wasn't salvageable. It looks like it's going to need some cleanup, exterior cleanup. This was that carport that was enclosed. And so we needed to actually do something with that because that wasn't up to code and it was an eyesore. So that's still the little garage there. Now this is from the garage looking into the laundry room. You can see here really the primary issue on the inside is cleanup. There's a lot of debris, there's a lot of trash, but for the most part, you're always going to need to do some flooring, some painting. Those are just a given on any rehab or fix, or what we call fix and flips. This was kind of a hybrid. This was a fix and flip that turned into more of a rehab just because the extent of work that was needed.
I remember when it looked that way.
Right? It's hard to remember. There was they had so much canned food, prepped food, bagged food, insects, rodents, all sorts of fun stuff. They had all these cabinets that were just filled with old canned and dried food. It was quite weird, but it took about 8 months of negotiating on this for them to finally end up selling it. They had to evict their. Tell you who the tenant. I'll tell you about the owner of this. The owner of this property was actually a real estate investor, had 4 different properties. And so when I first talked to this guy, he said, well, I'll take $150,000 for it. At the time, after it was fixed up, it could be worth $190,000. I told him there's no way. But his mentality was, I can fix this thing up and I'm not going to sell it at a loss. There's just no need. Hey, that's fine. I understand. But at the time, he had just evicted his son that was living there, strung out on drugs, and they were leaving it there in the neighborhood. And it was just basically, it was not something that was pleasant to view. It wasn't a safe thing to have in a neighborhood full of children. You know, there's teenage kids breaking in here, doing drugs, stuff like that. You want those things out of your neighborhood. That's our goal as real estate investors, is we provide work to contractors, handymen, the property values increase. We provide all of those services and do good for every community.
Sort of like superheroes.
We are absolutely superheroes. Yes, that is usually the way it is. Real estate investors with superheroes. But, you know, there are some real estate investors out there that are more like
supervillains.
Yes, they could be super villains, or maybe they have good intentions, but they're like Hancock in the beginning, and maybe they're just drinking too much, and then they make bad choices. But we want to be we want to be the Superman, the Superwoman that saves the day.
Which step are we on? Are we on step 15?
We haven't even, you know what? And I've been going over a lot of these. I'm going to break it down for you a little bit more. We're just looking at everything. Yeah. That's a great question. No, I'm just showing you guys the pictures, and then I'm gonna run through the steps real quick with you. But we're looking at all of these items here as we're going through on what's gonna actually need to be done. You're coming up with a checklist of, hey, I see that there's ceiling fans. You're listing out everything that you're gonna need to fix. Kitchen cabinets, there's a lot of water damage. Those weren't salvageable. Sometimes you can salvage those. We're looking in the back here and just seeing that there's a lot of things that are going to have to be cleaned up, replaced, fixed. Look, there's perfectly, hey, that looks like our vacuum that's here at the office. Is that? I don't think I saved it. Bleach. So as we go through here, one big problem was mold. We ended up having to do a lot of extensive work reframing of these bathrooms because not only was there mold, but there was termite issues. This thing just turned into be a lot more work than what was originally anticipated. That's why I want to show you certain things. So when you notice these things, mold around the baseboards, mold in the shower, mold on the ceilings, that you start to factor in those expenses to your rehab. Now the individual bedrooms, they weren't bad. They just needed flooring. And actually, once you clean up the floor, you can pretty much just lay carpet right over the existing floor. A lot of times there's good flooring that you can just lay over existing old tile, old carpet, just needs to get taken out. Now there were some issues here in the door, so you're gonna need to factor in a door replacement. And then in a little bit, I'll show you how we actually itemize all this out. But really, you're walking through and you're going through as fast as you can because maybe you only have a small window of time to negotiate with that home seller. So you want to take a lot of pictures that you can go back and review later. Anything that's questionable, you know, especially if you have no experience or you've ever looked at a property before, anything that looks weird or off to you, you want to take a picture. That way, in case any, if you're getting a bid from a contractor or you're looking for a contractor to give you some advice on something, you can show them what you've been looking at.
Nasty Fran says it's very challenging finding affordable contractors to do rehabs in New York.
Yes. That's my answer to that. Actually,
but
I do have one friend. He's a client of ours that is doing some contractor work. We may have a separate conversation about that, but it's because
doesn't a lot of it have to do with the numbers that you run in the deal?
Living. Yeah.
I mean,
well, there's
your acquisition price is really going to determine how much you have for your rehab expenses.
Where it's located is huge too. Right now, there is a shortage of good contractors. A lot of good stuff has been happening in the economy, so a lot of jobs have been piling up on the good contractors. So many of these guys have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 worth of jobs already backlogged, and they're putting out bids. And some of these bids, some of the bids we've seen are just I don't want to do the project, but if you're willing to pay me this much, I will do it. So we'll just talk about that as we move forward a little bit. So to finish off looking at these pictures here, that's all it is, really just evaluating the situation, looking at this big wall, this separated living room from the kitchen. You know, a lot of folks are liking the open floor plan now. We'll show you what we did with that a little bit later. But let's move back to the steps of rehabbing. I'm gonna close this one out if I can. Hey, there we go. All right, so first and foremost, whenever you acquire property, you need to secure it. Next, you're gonna need to plan out what you're going to do. You're going to get your permits in place. You're going to need to get certain filings if you're going to be holding those permits. Or let's say you need a dumpster. Some states, some cities, some counties require permits for you to put a dumpster there. So you're going to want to require all that. Foundation, we talked about one of the most costly things. So that will be the first thing you want to look at, the foundation, and if that needs repair. Move into the pest control. So if you're in an area that always is known for termites, which Southern Arizona, I mean, it's a very common thing to have termites. Temporary requirements. So a lot of times we may be working in the summer and you may need a cooler or something like that. Anything that you're going to need, if you need generators, whatever the situation is, to get the work started. Next, you're going to want to start the plumbing and the pre-demo. What we're going over right now is really, how does the line of work start to take place on a rehab? What does this actually look like? What steps do we follow? What needs to be done first all the way to the end? And so these are the things that you're going to want to get done first and in this order, just like when we build business credit. Is there a system to building business credit?
Yes.
Why?
Because if you go out of order, you end up duplicating your work or your efforts, or you end up doing things wrong and having to start all over again.
And one thing that is very powerful when you're lining up some work with contractors is already outlining a good idea of, hey, what needs to actually happen, and coming up with a plan. You're going to want to have that and build that into the contracts that you actually have with your contractor. That's a whole nother topic. But what we're going over is just the 10,000 foot overview of a rehab. And this takes a month easily in our private mastermind sessions to actually get through this.
Can I ask a question? When you look at the list of everything that needs done, I guess a lot of people, or at least maybe it's just me, I think, because I watch these fix and flip shows, like I got to fix everything up to the hilt, or the most expensive and best things, or and you look at this whole list, I have to do all of it. But you've kind of taught me that you don't have to fix everything all the way up, and you don't have to do all the work on the list. Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
That's a great point. No, there really is. There's basically low, medium, and high. You want to look and see what is right for that neighborhood. When you're running the comparables, so when you find a property or you find an area that you want to start working in, you want to know what is acceptable in those houses. Is it okay just to do a vinyl glue down floor, or do you have to actually put in hardwood? Do these actually have hardwood underneath the existing flooring that the trend is that those are being resurfaced?
Formica countertops.
Formica
granite
versus granite. Now, we have a lot of friends out in Hawaii that do rehabs. Out there, they're $1 million properties. Granite is just the given, but granite is also very expensive out there. Here in Arizona, we're pretty close to the Mexican border. It's very inexpensive to actually get our hands on some granite at a very cost-effective price.
We have granite quarries here in Arizona.
Yeah, and so that's I say we're close to the border, but yes, location. There's a lot of mines and, like you said, granite quarries. We have a lot of quartz out here as well. And so
that's a popular trend now, is the quartz countertops.
In certain areas of the country, quartz can be even more expensive than the granite. Where we are sitting currently in Tucson, it's about the same price or sometimes cheaper to go with granite than Formica.
What about doing everything on the list? You go through the house and you make up this whole list. You've many times said, well, we don't have to do everything on the list.
That's a great question, because actually I have a list of things that we must do and things that you should do, and maybe we'll cover some of that in the next mastermind.
Okay.
Yeah, these are great questions, because those are things. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? What do you actually have to do, and
what's negotiable?
Yeah, what's negotiable? Yeah, so you guys want to make sure you like and subscribe. Also go over to Wise Guys and Ties YouTube channel so you can get all the updates there as well. But there's a lot of folks that are actually in the Zoom mastermind right now. And so we encourage you to make sure that you get registered for the Zoom mastermind. You can do that by going to Wise Guys and Ties /events, or on the front page, you'll see the event tab, and you can sign up for all of the Zoom masterminds that we do. Now, let's see, we're through step 6. Let's move on. Step 7, the electrical. So we're talking about the most expensive thing. So any pre-demo that needs to be done with electrical, pulling, terminating electrical fixtures. So old fixtures need to come off, capping those off.
This is when you let me onto the property.
Okay, yes. I want to bring up a very important point. Do not do anything that a licensed professional is required to do. Just from your own liability perspective, and for Ray's liability, I'm telling you not to do anything that a licensed professional is needed to do. So there's electrical stuff, there's plumbing, there's gas lines, there's things like that. And the last thing you ever want is something to happen if you're flipping a house and that to fall back on you. There's a reason contractors have licensing and insurance. Let the liability fall onto them. And plus, when you use the third party, you take yourself out of the equation. I've seen a lot of folks that I hear some horror stories. They have a couple of houses. Maybe they don't even have it in a business. that's usually when they're the most liable. They have a rental property that they're fixing a house, and then all of a sudden something goes house, and boom, the lawyers take their the rental property just like that. Yeah, so it's really unfortunately. So next, demolition. Yeah, that's.
Oh, this is when you
bring in the heat. Yeah. Yes. So bring in Joey with his goggles, his hard hat, and a sledgehammer, and go to work. Start smacking stuff down.
Honestly, I'm such a klutz. I just walked through the property. I've already done half the demo already.
But these are those things. Order the dumpster, perform the demolition, not walls, just cabinetry, trim, things like that. Get everything out of the house. Trim, remove trees. Try to get anything bulk cut down and into that dumpster, because it depends on how long you're allowed to even have that dumpster for. And the faster you can fill up a dumpster, the better, because if you don't fill it, your neighbors will. I mean, let's just be honest. It's like you drop a 40-yard huge dumpster, everybody's like, oh, dang. All right, let's wait until 9 o'clock at night so we can put all of our trees and trash into your dumpster. And then you end up having to buy 2 or 3 dumpster rentals. Once you make that mistake the first time, you'll never make it again.
You put padlocks on them now, don't you?
Padlocks. Yeah, but then they'll just get their buddy and start throwing it all in there. They'll cut it off too. People are vicious. Do a little bit of the yard cleanup, haul away any junk or debris, get that in there. Now, if you had some issues with the structural aspect of it, there's some cracking, there may need to be some engineering. If you're going to be redesigning the layout, the configuration, you're going to be building walls, taking walls down, you may need a support beam or something like that. If you're opening up the rooms or anything like that, you're going to need to get some engineering reports possibly done as well.
That also might mean that you have to go back and get new permits.
Yep, absolutely. So things like that are always important, because let's say that you did that. Let's say that you did that without using a licensed contractor. Mm-hmm. Well, if anybody gets wind that you're doing work, maybe I'll tell you what, this is something.
It's wind. They're gonna get wind when the inspector comes in.
Who actually alerts? Like, so what happens is when you start rehabbing home properties and you got guys that are coming in at say 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, you're gonna get Joe, the next door neighbor, who's been working 10 or 5-10-hour shifts, and he wants to sleep in, to 9 on Saturday morning. They're going to be calling down the county. Hey, these guys are doing all this work over here. I'm just a concerned citizen. Or do they have any permits? And then all of a sudden, inspectors show up.
Well, inspectors also, when you go to sell your house, will inspect, and if they see, because they've done their homework and they looked at what was already pulled, what was online, and they see all of a sudden a new bedroom, new work that's been done, and they're like, where was the permit for that? Did you file that? No.
And that's the other thing too, is there's things that require permits that you may not even realize. If you wanted to take down an old shed in your county, most likely they require a permit for that. Yeah. You want to build a little retaining wall over 4 feet. There's a permit that's required for that, depending on where you're at. Remember, the counties, the cities, they have that as a way to make some money.
And that's, you bring up a good point, because there's county, city, right, differences. So you go to the county and you file, you get permits for there. But then I've noticed sometimes in the city, like you have to get a permit to put an air conditioning unit in.
Yep.
That's not with the county, but that's with the city.
Right. That's very true. Good point. Soil, grading, drainage, huge. Because actually, I wanted to show you that picture that we were looking at earlier, Joseph. When we were taking a look at the siding, I'm going to bring that up again, and I'm going to show you, because we had
a question that came in.
All right, shoot.
Jeremiah Sam says, how long will it take to get a permit?
Ooh, that's a great question. And you're going to get the traditional business owner, real estate investor answer. It depends. It depends on what you're actually pulling the permit for. It depends on if it requires plans to be approved or not. And it depends on the scope of plans. Sometimes if you're just doing something small, a sheet of paper that you pulled out a ruler, and you just drew a little, say you want to build a fence. I've done it where, we wanted to put an entire, a 60-foot brick fence along the main street, to enclose the backyard. Drew it out on a piece of paper and just wrote what the measurements were going to be or projected to be. And then right then and there, whoever's at the desk was able to stamp it and approve it. Some of these, if it's more some plumbing, some restructuring, they're going to want to have it being reviewed, and then they'll get back to you. So there may need to be some architectural plans that are drawn up.
Living in the county where I live, because I live in a different county than you, we're still on the card catalog system. They haven't even realized that there's computers yet, but it can take a while. But one of the things I've noticed that if you know the right draftsman, or the right architect or the right general contractor who has the inside connections with the good old boy system,
right?
That thing that you tried to file on yourself, which takes months, gets done in a week.
That's always true too. It's always good to, that's another benefit of working with a licensed professional is they usually have a relationship. They see them all the time. That actually goes through all aspects of real estate investing. Having somebody that already has that relationship built. We have worked very hard to build relationships all over the country. Build it with the title companies, build it with the attendees of the auction. It's interesting when you start buying a lot of properties at auction like Joseph and I have, who's actually there to buy and who's, somebody new. It's, if you've seen that, if you attend something regularly, say you go to church every week, you notice when somebody's new to the crowd. And just in the world of real estate investing, what do we call that? Almost when there's somebody new that comes into a sea of investors, they almost get attacked.
A little fish in a pond of shark, or an ocean, a lake.
It is.
Ocean of
so if you're a little fish and you have a more experienced shark that's your friend, and he can kind of wiggle his way in there, then you don't get attacked as much. I say it that way, but there's some big predators out there.
And back to Nancy Fran's question about affordable contractors. I don't think that's limited to New York, to tell you the truth, because I hear that we have a lot of investors that we work with in Nevada, Colorado, Hawaii, California. And they all say the same things. And so when you build up your relationships and you find someone, they become like, gold. You hold on to them very, very tight. So, I would just say that is a common thing. So, we have a class that I think we should go over in the essentials about the foundations about building your power team.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that. So I wanted to say on the foundation, the soil, the drainage right here, the soil actually was above the foundation, and it was just the dirt was sitting against the wood siding. So we knew that was going to have to be addressed. So grading, taking out some of that dirt, because as you are going to replace the siding, you can't really do that if there's dirt in the way. So that's something that needs to get done. Next, you're going to look at rough plumbing underneath the house or foundation, because you don't want to be replacing a bunch of stuff and then having to go back through and, I should have ran a gas line. Should have ran some new water lines. Getting your electrical checked, depending on what year it was built, you may have to run the electric of the house, and then they're going to be knocking holes, and that'll be in a step coming up. But
you're talking about putting things up to code?
No. I'm just saying, you're going to need things to be up to code if you're, say, doing some new construction. Say you wanted to build on an addition, that may trigger something in the permit department where all of a sudden now they want their electrical upgraded. Putting on new ACs, that can be a cause to have a new upgraded electrical panel. So all these things need to be thought about beforehand. So framing, subflooring, so repairing of the subfloor, minor replacement of damaged 2x4s. You're going to want to go through that next. The roof decking, installing new roof decking, exterior doors. You want to start with the exterior, of course, making sure that the house is all secured.
Now, is this the order in which work is done in? Or
Yeah, this is the order in which work is performed.
So, but I guess I've been kind of thinking like I'm walking the property and I'm looking at these
But
things.
you're going to be looking at all these things. So I'm kind of giving you two birds with one. We're gonna capture two birds with one hand to feed.
Good. That's better than killing two birds with a stone, for sure.
So these steps, this is the step process of how you want to actually do your rehab, the order in which you want to do things to save you the most time and money. Now, these are also, I'm recapping what you actually are going to be looking at in things that are going to need to be done.
Now, also, I mean, like we talked about, because you can't always get on the roof. You can't always look at the subflooring, right? You can't always see some of these things. So some of it is, I think I heard it best. There's this one investor I love working with, Jeff. He says you need time on the water.
Yes.
There's a lot of things you just can't train somebody because you just have it from experience of being because he's a fisherman as well. And you just, you can't tell everybody all the secrets that you need to know in one shot on how to fish. A lot of it comes with just time on the water.
Time on the water and masterminding on the situation. So we have people that bring us properties every single week, every single day, and they're like, hey, can you take a look at this video? Can you take a look at these pictures? Can you look at this? What do you think of this? And that's where that whole relationship, that mastermind aspect, because then in the private masterminds, we'll put it, we'll have people to bring in their properties, and then everybody's kind of looking at it, everybody's analyzing that. So if that's something you're looking for, we're going to talk about that a little bit more later too. Windows, window glass. So are they single pane? Is everybody there upgrading to dual pane windows, vinyl, aluminum? Installing window locks, that's a huge thing. So are we going to have to redo the siding, insulation, the house wrap, anything along those lines? Exterior trim, so the fascia, like we were talking about, the George abs, exterior trim. Next, you're going to want to move into the roof, getting the roof repaired, because I'll tell you what, if you start on the inside and then all of a sudden they have to replace a couple things, next thing you know, you got insulation and drywall coming through your bathroom.
That's happened.
That has happened. I think the guy was on a soft spot and he fell through, but came in there and wow, good thing we really haven't done much in this bathroom yet because they just helped demolish the bathroom.
They say, well, you got a problem with the roof, and it's like I couldn't see it, and they were, I wasn't up on the roof, but showing pictures. And then once the guy fell through the roof, I was like, oh, now I see where the problem is.
Next, addressing the fireplace if you have one in there.
Oh, but that brings up another point. One of the things I don't feel like you shared here, insurance. Before we've even started this, right? We have insurance because when that guy fell through, that we're not going to be liable for any of his injuries. We're going to have insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're going to need your insurance for sure. Rough HVAC. So if you're going to be running any new heating, cooling systems, if you got to be moving anything like that, you're going to want to move into that next. After that, plumbing in walls, in the attic, running of water lines. A lot of times, I know out here we have polybutylene piping where it needs to be changed over to copper piping. So that's something that.
Oh, and they have to, haven't we had a couple of situations where they had to break up the foundation to get access to a pipe to.
And imagine if you did the flooring before you went that. So like I said, these are all the steps in which you want work performed, because let's say that you're acting like the GC and where you're just hiring a bunch of subcontractors to do it all. That can be done as well. It depends on how much time, energy you have. But with the power of what we understand, we don't do our taxes ourselves, but we understand the principles that need to be done. And so when you understand what needs to be done, then you don't get taken advantage of.
Let me ask you another question. It kind of goes back because I keep thinking about Nasty Fran's question, because I mean, I just hear that from everybody. And that is a common question. But I guess for me, like, I'm thinking, when do you go with a handyman versus when do you go with a licensed contractor?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Because you're showing us a lot of stuff. Is
lot of
all of this general contractor work, or
a-
could any of this be done with a handyman?
A lot of these things in the beginning are going to require somebody licensed. HVAC is going to be requiring a license. Electrical and plumbing. Those are the big three. Now,
The roofing part?
the roofing part, yeah, you're going to want to be, depending on what it is though. If you're just recoating the roofing, if you're just replacing a couple of shingles, then we don't need to use, we can use a handyman for that. If you're actually replacing the whole roof, you're going to want to use a licensed contractor for many different reasons. One being the insurance part, and two, that they're knowing what they're going to be doing, because it's big enough job that you don't want to play around with that and having a handyman do it. So I would say a good rule of thumb is any job under $1,000 is very easy for a handyman to do.
Now, any job that you had to pull a permit for has to be a licensed
Yes,
contractor.
has to be a licensed contractor. And yeah, do I follow all these rules to a T?
Yes, you do.
Yes. Yes. Especially when we're talking on YouTube, yes. Bathtub, shower pans, replacing bathtubs. Now, like for example, if you're tiling a shower, that could be a handyman. That doesn't need to be somebody expensive. There's a lot of things that, you know, if you do a general contractor, he's gonna get a lot of handymen in there. He's gonna have a lot of guys that work underneath him. He may subcontract out some other things. And so it just really depends. There's also the extra cost of having them manage your project. But you can have one of three things. Like my buddy Richie says, you can either have it cheap, quick, or done right. You just can't have all three. You can have two. So you can have it done right and cheap, but it's going to take a long time. You could have it cheap and done quick. If you do it cheap and do it quick, then it's probably going to be done wrong.
You need a dry erase board for this.
Yes, we need a dry erase for that. That's a whole nother training for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, using a contractor is it's quickest, but it's going to be done right. But as long as you use a reputable one, but it's going to cost the most money.
You know, one of the things I've noticed, if you use a handyman, it's like your material costs seem to be so much more expensive. But when you use a general contractor, your material costs are so much more inexpensive, but you pay more because you're paying for all that labor
Right.
and expense. So it's weird how cost varies with all of this.
And it depends on what you're doing. If you're going to be doing a lot of projects, sometimes you're going to want to be buying it yourself in bulk. So, you know, you buy, instead of a small pack of nails, you buy a big pack of nails. If you're going to be doing a couple of different projects and having the handyman use your materials, and I don't like doing hourly. I really don't. Paying somebody hourly means that they're going to what?
What's the incentive for them to do it fast?
There's no incentive for them to move quickly. Paying per job is the best way to go. When they get done, then they get paid, and then they move on to the next task.
There's also a carrot and a stick approach you put to the handyman that we work with.
Oh, absolutely. You could give them a little money up front, and then they won't get the rest until they're done. And even better, you need to do this with both your handyman and your contractor. What's the penalty if it's not done on time?
And what is the reward if it's done on time?
So imagine,
carrot and
okay,
stick.
so Nancy Fran, you were talking about this, bringing your contractors in on the deal, talking to them about different aspects of, let me tell it this way, sharing in on the profit sometimes. Let's say you're doing a fix and flip or a rehab of some sort. We'll talk about this. Hey, this is the budget, but if you come in under budget, whatever you come down cheaper, we're going to split the difference. So that's almost like a bonus to them. If they save you $20,000, then they get a $10,000 bonus.
We had a contractor, a handyman on our last project do the flooring and the painting for a really large house, and for the materials and everything, bid in $10,000, and we paid a $500 bonus for getting done on time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Rough electrical work, exterior masonry, and then any insulation that needs to be fixed in the walls. All right, so we're halfway through this right now, guys. I want to just talk to you a little bit real quick about the fact that wealth is a mindset. Knowing all of these things, it's not something that takes 2 days to learn. You're not going to learn everything you need to learn on this mastermind either. So education is not learning of facts, but it's the training of your mind to think. And that's why we're dedicated to coming to you guys each and every week to start building those blocks even further. But I got to let you guys know that there's a lot of stuff that doesn't take place on YouTube. Then there's a lot of in-depth, real down deep work that goes into building, a large successful business, real estate business, and empire. I want to just mention real quick, we talk about the essentials, and this is part of the real estate investing education. What Joseph was mentioning earlier, real estate foundations, knowing a lot of these things, knowing a lot of the beginner aspects of, we're talking about the rehab, but what do you do before you get to that point? The basic building blocks of investing. We use self-directed IRAs. That's a fantastic way to leverage money for using to invest in real estate.
It's one of my favorite classes.
It absolutely is. We manage hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So
$736,000 to be exact.
$736,000 currently of retirement funds that are just straight somebody's retirement account. It's the biggest pool of funds that are sitting out there. Nobody's touching it. And right now, we're not going to go into a forecast of the stock market, but if you're interested in the stock market, if you have money in the stock market, you need to be paying attention and potentially moving to cash. We're going to have to do a video on like the current state of GDP and where is everything sitting. All right. So, but as a successful business owner, real estate investor, you need to be aware of everything that's taking place because it can affect your business. Real estate, self-directed IRAs, that's amazing. Chris Albin, we've talked a little bit about him when we were going over subject 2, but he talks about all the pitfalls. So we mentioned some things to watch out for, things that we've ran into. He really spends 6 hours going into all those things for you to watch out.
I think he also talks a little bit about market analysis.
Oh yeah, making sure that it's done right. Tax and legal, the structuring of your business. How do you put this business together? How do you protect yourself? What are the tax implications? If you're doing this in your personal name, what type of tax benefit do you have? If you, let's say, okay, Mr. Joseph Smith, let's say that you're new to real estate investing.
Okay.
You don't start a business.
Okay.
You get a house.
Yes.
You buy it, you get the work done.
Yes.
And you sell it within the first year. You've owned it for, let's say, 8 months.
Okay.
You sell it, you make $50,000.
Perfect.
Is some of that going to have to go to taxes?
Well, I'm going to have to pay property taxes for the time that I owned it. And probably will discover that at closing and be shocked that all my profits getting eaten up there. But yeah, then the IRS has a funny way of seeing that as a additional income that you didn't pay taxes on.
Yes, and they like to that fancy word capital gains, where they like to take a good portion of that, just like a lottery winning. Yeah, I mean, after all those taxes, you could see 45% of that wiped out like that. But is IRS going to come after you that day?
No. So you have time to spend it all.
You have time to spend it. So you go out and, you do whatever with those funds. And then all of a sudden, next year's taxes, all of a sudden, there's a $22,000 tax liability on that.
Well, what'll happen with that is it'll be broken up. You won't get slapped with one bill. You'll get hit with the property taxes at closing.
Right.
And then what you'll find, because you bought this in your own name, is you have to report this in like
Capital gains, whatever that is.
right, Schedule C. I don't know. I have to go back and look which one.
That's why you need a good accountant.
But because this has happened to me before, you know, and I just did the capital gains on that. You're going to get around $8,000 just on that. And so you get a lovely letter from the IRS that states, because you know, if you just do your taxes like you normally do, right? Everyone goes to what? H&R Block, or they do some program. And then you filed your taxes, you think you're done, then you get a letter from the IRS. Let me tell you what a wonderful feeling that is when you open up the mailbox and there's a letter from the IRS.
That doesn't sound too pleasant.
And you owe money. So what do? Well, because we have wonderful accountants, when we bought it in a business, we didn't have any problems. But imagine, you know, you did this fix and flip maybe in the summer or the fall of the previous year. That money, you got to use that money for different things. And now all of a sudden, $8,000. No payment plan. It's due now.
Yikes. That's no fun. That is no fun. It's no fun to make money and then have to pay a bunch of taxes. But, I mean, the goal is to pay a lot of taxes, but the key is to have written off as much as possible first. All right. So Mark Kohler spends 2 days going over all that beautiful information for you as well. Creative acquisitions, we talked about that. We'll dive back into that in some later weeks on creative ways of purchasing properties without using any of your own money or credit. And Deal of the Decade dives into searching probate, the court system, properties that are tied up in that mess, negotiating. You're always going to need to be a good negotiator, whether you're negotiating with a buyer, a seller, or just your spouse. Negotiations is powerful. Understanding your personal credit. We talk a lot about personal credit as well. If you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out how to get out of debt, make sure you're plugging into our Tuesday night credit banking masterminds. But there's also an in-depth course on how to build, grow, and repair your personal credit. And of course, the velocity banking strategy. That's really where we got introduced to the whole credit banking strategy, was through Renatus, actually. That was pretty phenomenal. All of these courses, over 60 hours of education, weekly group coaching. So that's not even including what Joseph and I do. Renatus puts out there all sorts of stuff too. And it's only $2,497. And of course, you're already 100% approved for a payment plan.
So I'm learning how to raise unlimited funds. I'm learning how to save money in my taxes so I keep more of what I make. And then I'm learning how to acquire properties without using any of my own money.
Absolutely.
And sweep away all my debt with that velocity banking course.
Yep.
All for $2,497.
Yep.
Man, that's awesome.
It's a deal. Now, of course, there's so many folks, and we're going to get back to the, in just a minute, we're going to get back to the 25 through 50 steps of rehabbing property.
Woohoo!
Ah, yes. And I'll show you those after photos of that current project. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about what those numbers ended up looking like. But do need to let you guys know that there's also a whole nother aspect. Now, you got to get going in your foundation. Wherever you get started, it's always important. This is a journey. This is a marathon. This is. I've been on this journey for a couple of years now. Same with Joseph. This is not something that is a get rich quick. Okay, this is a build a legacy for sure.
6 years going on 7 for me.
Yeah. And you still got a lot to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never stop learning.
Well, I mean, I say I've been investing in real estate for 6 years, but I've been successfully investing in real estate for the last 2 years.
Lease options, short sales, notes, deeds, liens. Now, when I'm going over these are just the category, but inside there's 10, 12 courses that make up those strategies. Fix and flip, which we're talking about today. So rehabbing, fix and flip, 2 full days, fix and flipping houses, but also 2 full days of rehabbing. Because what's the difference between a fix and flip and a rehab?
Well, I imagine since we just did a fix and flip, which was changing out the flooring and the paint and a couple of fixtures, That's a fix and flip. So we only put like less than 20,000 into it. But the rehab, which we have one of those too, is like $150,000 project where you're doing everything.
Pulling permits and drafting and all that good stuff. And so what's cool is the course, it was filmed over 6 months. They used drone footage, what to look for, how does that whole process work? Pretty phenomenal stuff. Multifamily, if you want to get some apartments, commercial real estate, bonus tracks, you know, they even have our partners in there actually teaching a class on business credit. But I mean, there's some phenomenal instructors in this. And here's some of them. You know, you guys can always go back, watch this video, freeze frame it, and check out some of these individuals. These are true professionals in the world of real estate investing.
I actually like those people.
Yes. These are not any small-time people. These are full-time professionals teaching their master class.
But I can call. That's one of the great things about that. Because I'm a student, I actually can pick up the phone and actually speak to them.
Absolutely.
That's what's amazing.
All right. Then there's the new Profits, which is all about online driving of sales, building your infrastructure, building your social media, building how to produce wealth in your business. We now have students in all 50 states, and pretty soon a good friend of yours is going to be enrolled as well. Now, of course, there is the Renatus campus. That's actually in Centerville, Utah, but everything is online now, folks. We don't need any more. Like we said, here's the Essentials, $24.97, the Profits, $3,747, the Profits Combo, which is the Essentials and the Profits, $6,244, Extreme Plus, where you get basically everything that Renatus has to offer, and all the real estate investing plus the Profits gives you the Epics Combo, so $28,741.
Can I point something out here?
Yeah.
Now, I know results aren't typical and you're not the average bird, but your first real estate deal that you did once you got into this system, you made net profit $37,000.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just think that blows my mind. And there's so
and
many
it was in
people.
about 2 weeks too. It was about 2 weeks long.
But I mean, you're such a nut when it comes to this education stuff. I mean, you're always taking classes. You drive somewhere, you're in the audiobooks, you're taking classes. But I mean, you also applied it. But that's what I feel like is the power of this education. I mean, one deal, and you already got all your money you invested back.
Yeah. And all I did was actually put it to work. And so can I guarantee that you're going to do that? No, I can't. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to do better, less, the same. I just don't know. It's up to you. But if you're open to this, the other great thing is there's no shortage of money. So we do have billing in place. You know, right here, if you want to get started in the Essentials, $399.40 with a monthly payment of $116. Not too bad. Now, if you've been tuning into the credit banking on Tuesday nights, we always encourage some type of line of credit to use the velocity strategy, the credit banking strategy. So if you're going to take that route, you can actually get a substantial cash discount. So that's something else. Now, back to the work. But I want to show you, where does all this knowledge come from? Why? And how?
That was awesome. A couple of things.
Yeah.
First of all, when you showed just that Essentials right there, when you came up with the payment plan that was there, that works out to $3.86 a day.
This one?
For the $2,497. Obviously, it's less if they make the whole purchase up front, and we've actually calculated to where it's like $1.40 a day if you're
using a line of credit.
Yeah. But the other thing is Jeremiah Sams has a question, and this might fit into your transition to back to your steps. But should I ever go over the money I allocated for repairs? So before this project started, he budgeted a certain amount of money. When or if ever should I go over what I budgeted?
That is a great question.
I thought segue to whatever you want to talk about.
And you're going to get my answer that I like to give Jeremiah all the time. It depends. No. But in all reality, if you've budgeted for a certain cost, this is crucial. Man, I'm getting a little goosebumps because stuff like this, it just fires me up. Okay, imagine if you're using a contractor. what does it say in the contract? What does it say in the contract? Because if they said they're going to do this, this, and this, and then all of a sudden they're coming back and saying, oh, I didn't foresee that I needed to spend this and this and this, are you going to pay them? Are you contractually obligated to pay them, or is it their responsibility to pay for that? See, there's a whole nother class that talks about that from Matt Sorensen. This is in the upper division. You got to be thinking that it's not just, hey, what do we do if we go over? Should we pay more? Well, there's a whole lot of aspects to that, because the thing is, you know, who's first and foremost, whose responsibility is it to cover that expense? Was it something that somebody else did that created that expense? Is that protection in your contracts that you have with your handyman, your contractors, your subcontractors? And the question is it going to be worth it? So, for example,
okay, go ahead.
So for example, let's say that you, the final thing is, you know, maybe you need to spend an extra $1,000 to put some new fixtures in. Well, the value is probably going to be there for somebody getting that final completed house versus not. Now, if you're way off, then, I mean, it's like the flooring's not in, and I still need to come up with flooring, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. You can look at what is it currently worth. Should you raise those funds to finish the project off? That might be your best bet. It really comes down to it. Can you sell it for what it is, and you'll make the same amount versus spending another $20,000 in another 2 months to get it sold? It just depends. There's people looking for little houses that all they do is just need to put on some finishing touches.
Can I give an example from what you did?
Exactly.
So
yes.
we were closing on a house. Gosh, when was this? This was maybe 3 deals ago or so that we were doing.
Falling Star? Which one?
No, what it was there was an inspection done, and they determined that the AC was older and needed replaced, but it wasn't critical because it was still working.
Right.
But to do the deal, they wanted a new AC put in, but that would have broke our budget. How did you handle that?
Well, so that was the thing is in that situation, I get the AC guy out there, contracted, you know, and you're building these relationships. He goes out there, services the unit, and then says, hey, look, this unit is in good working. And then you just slap a home warranty on it. So that way, you know, provide a home warranty with the little extra rider for the AC. That way, if anything happens and the AC does stop working, they are protected.
I mean, that was one of our projects, but I'm also remembering another project where you said, okay, well,
we're going to go up in the price. I can't keep track of all these properties.
You went back like 10 deals ago. I just was talking the one that was like just 2 deals ago. You did that.
Yes, that was, what were we at? We're at 205. And if they wanted all that stuff done, they were going to have to pay us like 212. So we went back with that. Then that started to like crumble apart, and we had already lined up to put a new AC on. So we ended up putting it back on the market, and we got 215. Right. But that doesn't always happen that way. But I mean, today we haven't lost any money on any deal.
Oh,
is that typical?
May God continue to bless us.
But the power comes into knowledge, because when we raise money, when we're dealing with retirement accounts, the biggest leverage factor that we have used to raise capital for real estate is the Renatus education. Because what can separate you from the masses? And this is why we talk about business credit. What is going to separate your little business from those 60 million other startup businesses in the country? The one that is set up the right way. And that's why it's so powerful. Man, let's get back on this screen. Let's go dive into this. All right, step 26, concrete work. Anything that needs to be done, rehabbed, repaired, inside leveled. Maybe you got to put some self-leveler on there to get the flooring ready. Drywall, so repairing a sheetrock, texturing, removal of wallpaper. Yeah, you want to get that done before you put in the flooring and everything like that. Next, we talked about, you know, we showed you that kind of built-in carport, the garage doors. If you want to do this, because that's what's really nice is having a nice working garage. You can store things in there and people can't see it through the window. But we've also had this happen. Properties get broken into, appliances get stolen, tools get stolen. Don't leave stuff on your property. If your contractors are going to leave expensive equipment, tools, make sure that they have, if they're handyman, whatever, make sure that they got some type of insurance that's going to cover them in case it gets stolen. Because frankly, what happens if it gets stolen, I'm sorry. You better hope I like you, because I'm just sorry. I can't pay for all your tools that you had to leave there. But we have had that happen. And because we got some money from the insurance, we bought their tools for them. But that's probably not going to ever happen again. We'll make sure that they, yeah, we're not going to dive into that story today, but
You've got so many stories, man.
I know we're going to have to go over that another day. Gutters, unfinished wood floors, if you want to do that. Next, we got 31, cabinetry. So installing vanities, replacing your base cabinets, your top cabinets, repairing your cabinets, refacing cabinets, getting those, all that preparation done. 32, interior doors, the trim, the millwork, repairing interior doors, baseboards, closet shelving, window trim, interior window trim.
I find that one of the things that has broken the budget on a couple of our rehab projects was the cabinets.
Yeah. If you can salvage the cabinets, if you can reface them, it is the most cost-effective way to go. It really is. Dust, sweep, clean up before painting, clean all the construction debris. Sometimes there's needed, hopefully you got everything big out so you don't need any more dumpsters. Then moves into paint. The ceilings, the walls, the doors, the trim, getting it all painted at one time, bringing the painters in, getting them to knock it out in 2 days. That's the best way to do it.
Oh, and that's why you put the drywall before that, because if there's little holes, right, that's always a pain in the butt to have to go back and redo that.
It really is. Getting all these things done, and plus all that's the rough stuff wants to get done. If you got to redo any insulation, blowing any insulation into the attic, anything like that, you want to get that done. Countertops. So whether you're doing laminate, you're going to be doing the backsplash. You don't want to have any of that done before you paint if you're at that level. Now, of course, depending on how much work actually needs to be done, maybe you can't do it all. Maybe, oh, I'm not changing the countertops. Okay, we'll just make sure that those have gotten masked off when you're painting. Next, then we got to do the tile, the flooring, whatever type of flooring we're doing. What's really nice is, if you're laying down carpet, it saves time and money if they don't have to cover the floor. Let's say you're going to be putting on new flooring. Well, you're going to get a better deal with your painter if they don't have to worry about masking and protecting the floor. A lot of folks don't even realize whatever they have to protect increases the cost, because I'll tell you, the most time-consuming thing in painting is the masking. If you have ceiling fans up there that have to be masked, if you have the door, like everything needs to be masked, oh, that's a nightmare. Then vinyl floors, if you're going to do that, floating floors. Then final AC units being replaced, putting on the vents for the AC, thermostat, installing all of that.
Well, wait a minute. Can you go back? Some houses have the HVAC in the flooring.
Mm-hmm.
So you might, I lived in that. When I lived up in Idaho, the whole
it's all underneath.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how would that? So you'd have to.
That was like, well, that was way back on the early stages. We had the foundation,
ductwork,
the rough work ductwork HVAC, and like, what was it, like step 2?
Okay, so still, even after the flooring, then you would be putting in those grates in the floor.
Right, yeah. So we've already addressed all the underneath ductwork. This is the final little trims.
Thank you.
No.
Sorry.
No, that's good, because that's, if you have it, then other folks have it.
Right.
Yeah. So final plumbing. So we've done all the rough plumbing work, but this is installing, hooking up of the garbage disposal, the sink, the, screwing on the fixtures in the shower, anything like that isn't going to be this is water lines for the toilets, replacing the toilets, things like that. Installing the toilets, you don't want to install the toilets before you've installed the floor type thing. Final electrical, so making sure all your GFCIs are there.
Wait a minute. That reminds me. No. Go back to the GFCIs. This is one of the things that you purposely don't do.
I like not doing this.
And you got to say why, because you're supposed to, and you don't do it.
I'll tell you why. Not to be cocky, we love creating a beautiful product. And if you do too good of a job, what does the home inspector have to find? They are going to have to start digging and digging hard. And imagine this. Imagine you're a home inspector and there's this house that was just flipped and it's a 40-year-old house. And you come back to that owner with nothing is wrong.
And they just spent $1,000 on you.
Yeah, I have not known a home inspector to come back without listing what is wrong. They will find something wrong. And we learned that the wrong way the first time, because we're like, hey, we did everything so perfect. They literally dug and dug and dug until they found something that they could, then they started opening up every single outlet. They were finding, they had to go to the extent where they were opening up to find like wires that maybe were slightly loose or something like that. It was exhausting, not only for them, but for, it took a long time. And then they started bringing up these little code violations that really don't even matter. And then all of a sudden, this small thing that easily didn't even need to be fixed, but it was a code issue, turns into like a $400 issue when it could have just, maybe just leave a broken faceplate for them to find. Not saying.
I just think that was brilliant, because ever since you started doing that, we have no problems with our inspections.
But it's like GFCIs and things like that. Unless you want to pay an electrician, you don't know exactly what needs to be done. There's certain things that on the property, I'm like, well, this switch, we don't even know if that needs to be an expense that we spend yet. Let's see, if they want to replace that, whatever the issues are, the home inspectors are going to find it. So,
or sometimes there was a thermostat thing that, we needed to replace it. You're like, leave it for the inspection.
Right.
And then, because we already had one, because we bought another one. So then once he checked off the thermostat needed replaced, then we slapped on the thermostat that we already had for it.
Because you got to remember, we're fixing this house up. We've put in floors and windows and all this, but there's got to be a stop to this. This is not a new build. So you guys got to keep in mind that when you're fixing flipping, when you're rehabbing, this is not a new build. This is not everything needs to be perfect. But if you're not going to do something, make sure it's the least expensive.
Smoke detectors, the last one on the list. You've left some of those off too.
Yeah.
Even though you bought them for the deal, you
don't put them in
till the inspector says to put them in.
If I don't have to put them in and the new homeowner wants to spend, $50, $60 on the nice whatever, I'm going to just put in a cheap smoke detector anyway. It's a peace of mind for their family.
But you give all these obvious little things that are inexpensive for us.
You're giving away all the secrets. I thought I was giving away the secrets.
No, to me, like, your things that you do are brilliant. I'm like, this is why you're the property guy, because nobody knows these little things that you do. It's brilliant.
But that is true, because the first time that you go through and you knock it out of the park, then all of a sudden you got, Peter, property inspector, and he's up there and he's like taking off vents on the roof and finding something, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I found mold up underneath this ductwork into somewhere else, and now all of a sudden you got to tear down the whole hallway. Like, what?
Well, I thought that one, if I remember, didn't he like start taking apart the electrical panel?
Yeah.
Like, who does that?
Yeah. Took apart the electrical panel, was tracing where wires were going. Oh my goodness. That was a nightmare. Then turned into like an $1,800 electrical bill. I'm like, there was nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong. Oh man. But then, the property owner receives that, or a potential buyer, and they're like, oh, improper wiring. You know what it was? Is the person that wired it just didn't color coat them. It was wired properly, but they wanted it all reran with like the proper colors. I don't know, it was a nightmare. Waste. But good point though. Finish up those wood flooring if you're refinishing the hardwood. And the what we call the lockout. So this is trim of the interior doors. To fit that, you may have to kind of shave it to fit with the carpet. We're looking at interior doorknobs, towel bars, toilet paper holders, mirrors, all these final accessory things to make it look good. And then plus, if you're going to be actually installing any shower doors, you want to do that. Vanities, mirrors, appliances. Now, depending on where you're at, you can either put your appliances in at this point, or some people put in the listing, and say with the purchase with full asking price, we will provide all these stainless steel GE appliances or whatever. We usually put all the appliances in.
We are finding some, not all, but a small segment of our buyers they already have their refrigerator. And so we've ended up with a couple of extra refrigerators because they wanted to move in with theirs. And so I'm like, okay.
That's how you know you've made it to the next level, when you have a refrigerator in your garage. That actually works filled with sodas. Carpet. So carpet is one of the very, very last things to actually take place. Very, very last. Landscaping. So we did the cleanup originally, but we did not do landscaping because weeds. Whatever, let it go.
Is this the part for like curbside appeal?
Curbside appeal, yes. Repairing your fence. The final thing, fresh coat of paint on the fence. There's some fresh plants. They haven't died yet. A couple pots, make it look good. You don't want to do that until the very end. Final cleaning, make it ready, pressure wash everything, the exterior. If it's brick, then you pressure wash the outside, and just going through final and making it look good. And then if you choose to put any little accessories or decor, or if you're actually, we don't stage anything, but you can put a little trinket or something, make it look nice and homey. And then the final.
You bring up a good point though. Staging and photos and stuff like that can help.
It depends on where you live.
Exactly.
Depends.
Here in Arizona, or at least here in Tucson, the market, people want to see how roomy and spacious it is. And you clutter it with furniture, and they're like, nah, that's not their floor plan, or that's not their design. So
now, if you have, so it really depends on the situation. It depends on your style. One great thing, if you are going to stage it, just look at some rent-to-own furniture places, so you don't have to go buy all that.
Do you take your own photos? Do you have a realtor take the photos, or would you pay for a professional realtor photographer to take your photos?
That's a great question, because I've taken the photos.
You've had your realtor do it?
Realtor take
photos. And you paid for a professional.
And paid for professionals. I like paying for professionals but it depends on where we're at in the level. I mean, are we
a high-end property?
Yes, high-end property, professional photos. If this is just, it's clean, it's good, the market, it's going to sell. Our realtor is really good at taking photos. So we have him take photos. It just comes with his service. Or if this is a wholesale property, I'm just going to take some cell phone photos and put it out there to sell it. And so the punch list, the final punch list, going through with some blue tape and putting little marks there. Usually if you've had a painter come through, they will come back and they'll touch up for you. Any minor drywall repairs that need to be done, and boom, then we are done and moving forward. So
when do you paint the door blue?
Never again. So what Joseph is referring to is what I will show you. This project here that we are showing you the pictures of. I thought it would be cool to paint the door blue.
There was another door in the neighborhood painted red.
Yeah. So I was like, well, hey, a blue door would be kind of cool.
Man, you got so much feedback, we'll say, from the realtor we were using at that time on the blue door. But it ended up being a great.
It mainly turned into why. Wait, why? Why did you guys do that? Why did you?
You know, I drove by that old neighborhood. That door is still blue.
It is.
They obviously liked it.
It's pretty fancy. Let's pull it up. Let's show everybody what you're talking about. This blue door. Hey, there you go. This nice bright blue door. Talk about an accent. But you know, we laid out gravel here at the end. You know, put some little pots and some flowers and make it all look nice and fancy. You know, so as you can see, we didn't even change the AC. We just had to service it, fill it up. So the front yard just laying out gravel. Sometimes we'll lay out gravel. In this case, we did the front yard with gravel. This is the inside here. You can see the floor. This was.
You really opened it up there. That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
That used to just be a full wall.
This was that full wall of cabinets. So an easy fix, instead of taking this down and having to put a beam in there, none of these were weight bearing. And so we just were able to take out those 2x4s and frame it out and, you know, reinforce it, you know, structurally here. And then it's an open countertop space. And it makes this huge openness to that closed feeling. That back room there, we ended up having to raise up that floor like we were talking about, you know, the dirt in the back, but we just raised up the floor so there wasn't a step down in the actual house, which was really nice. It just flowed really smoothly throughout. But paint, we put in granite throughout the kitchen there. And so this, we did put all new cabinets in and we actually extended it out.
You know what I loved about all those outlets? They're USB outlets too.
Yes.
So people, I mean, as far as for this neighborhood, nobody had modern tech like that in their
right.
houses.
You bring up little things. These little things are like, so we had like little lighting underneath here and then little USB outlets there. And so these little things go a long way. You know, we put in the recessed lighting and the ceilings and stuff like that. People love these little things that are cost effective, because if you're going to have to replace an outlet, you can get some of these things at Costco on sale for really inexpensive. So here's the kitchen, and then got a lot of shots of the kitchen, big open kitchen. This is this back room that you had seen earlier. We ended up, you know, mounting the back door up a little bit higher. You'll see the bedrooms, carpet, fans match out throughout the whole house, matching the flooring in the bathroom. Shower, granite matches in the bathrooms. So everything just kind of matches throughout and flows nicely. The bathroom showers have little nooks, and the granite's the same in the bathrooms and the kitchen, and everything just really flows nicely. Here's the laundry room, and even in the laundry room, we had some extra granite, and so went and just grabbed a couple of cabinets and threw on a piece of granite. So now all of a sudden this laundry room is, you just need to put some fixtures in here and you got a beautiful place that you can work and actually look out the window. My wife absolutely loved this. As soon as she saw that she could have a place to fold clothes or whatever and, you know, look at the kids throughout the back window, yeah, she was stoked about that. So the big backyard, we had just cleaned it up. We didn't put any gravel. We had taken out some of the existing stuff that was there. And really, all in all, you know, we didn't bother with taking out any of this rock or doing anything. It's a blank slate for whoever's coming into this. They had these sheds there. These storage sheds were there before. Might as well leave them. You know, that's an added bonus that, you know, we took down that rugged one that was here. We just painted the fence. Nothing really too spectacular, but putting in new windows really makes it pop, and a fresh coat of paint goes a long way. So, I mean, we purchased this house for $120,000. And then we had actually 4 closings fall through on this. And so on the fourth, well, actually three closings fell through. The fourth finally closed, but that closed at $216,000. It's pretty sweet. So imagine almost, you know, buying it, rehabbing it, and selling it for almost $100,000 more. Now, we did not put $100,000 into this property. So that was a pretty good deal. There. And we have about 3 minutes left.
We have a Nancy friend who asked, was doing some estimates to change from my 4-plex to 8. And the estimates were, hold on, I'm sorry, I'll scroll down. for between 1.2 to 1.5 million. And she does the little,
That is phenomenal.
I don't know that was actually a question.
Hey, I like it. I like it though. Nancy, I love what you're doing. Hey, let's get on a call. Let's see what you got going on. I mean, we've already talked a couple times, but yeah, see how we can help you out. All right. For those of you that haven't ever known, this is why I do it. This is why all of us do it. You know, we gotta take care of our little families out there. You know, gotta go build houses in Mexico. That's a little picture of what we'd like to do. We go build houses in Mexico, but whatever charity it is that you want to do. And it's who we're bringing along with us. Doing it for the children, our legacy, our families, our communities. That's really why we do this real estate thing. You know, this is my little girl. This is her little candy machine that Joseph's children basically are going to fund her horse purchase. She wants to buy a horse. And so, you know, it's just starting to teach these different values. Whether you are already retired, whether you are just starting out in life, you know, at some point you or you're gonna influence your family in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's grandkids, maybe it's your nephew, or maybe it's your uncle that has been struggling, and then you're the one that can start teaching them a better way, a better path. But that is all about what we do, folks. I encourage you to reach out to us at 888-524-9273. Get connected with the Wise Guys in Ties, where we can help you get into business credit, start a business, grow a business, real estate investing, whatever it is, you know, whatever your business is, let's help you thrive and succeed in today's economy and create your own economy. You can go to Wise Guys in Ties, find out more about business credit, or schedule with us, but it's your time to make a decision for change. Why not you? Why not now? Like Tony Robbins says, it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is created. I know that destiny has led you to these masterminds. It's led you to this YouTube channel, and the fact that you're still here, there's been a reason. And so we just encourage you to keep plugging it, get scheduled for those Zoom calls. But also, we're going to be diving in a little bit more on a private Zoom webinar that is not going to be on this. And we're going to be talking about different ways of finding money, how to start, manage, and grow your business. And we go into some pretty deep stuff, so we actually aren't even going to be putting this on YouTube. It's actually going to be this Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm going to share a way for you to grab that link so you can get plugged into that. And we'll also be putting the link in the description of this video. How to generate income while building your real estate business, because I know a lot of folks out there. I know me, all these little side hustles, affiliate things that we got going on, it creates stability. Creating, you know, extra couple $1,000s a month can change some lives. And demonstrating, you know, an actual live walkthrough of some of these classes here. So to join that, all you have to do is text REI to 602-497-2257. Or give us a call, shoot us an email. If you're like, hey, can you just shoot me an email or whatever that you want that Zoom link, and we'll get that out to you. Look at that, and I finished on time. That was perfect. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed tonight. I look forward to seeing you Saturday, where we dive in deeper and really see about making a plan for you and how you can achieve your goals. But just remember that there really is no shortage of money out there or success. There's just a shortage of people that are willing to do whatever it takes to make those dreams come true. From myself, Ray Fleming, and my partner, Joseph Smith.
Good night.
Good night, and God bless.